I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
It's hard to believe that someone who lived 500 years ago had an ability to successfully predict the future. But as soon as his predictions started coming true, Nostradamus earned the trust, respect, and meaning of his life.
I believe that humanoid robots have the potential to lead with a greater level of efficiency and effectiveness than human leaders.
Some were still skeptic throughout the years, but as his craziest predictions, such as 9/11 attacks, Adolf Hitler, World War II, and more started coming true, he immediately started predicting things for the year 2024. At least that's what the rumor says.
I'll be back.
So without further ado, let's take a look at 10 most terrifying Nostradamus predictions. A naval battle. Red adversary will become pale with fear, putting the great ocean in dread, were the words Nostradamus used to predict a war that will take place on the open sea. When saying red adversary, Nostradamus was referring to China and the nation's red flag. But what war would China start on the open sea, considering Nostradamus predicted that this would be a war fought on sea? At the moment, China's only potential enemy is Taiwan. Taiwan is an island separated from China by the Taiwan Strait. It has been governed independently from mainland China since 1949. Taiwan has its own democratically elected government and is home to 23 million people. But despite this, China views Taiwan as their province that suddenly decided to rebel and leave. Tensions between China and Taiwan have escalated since the election of Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen in 2016. Tsai refused to lead the country the same way her predecessor Ma Ying-jeou did, because he did everything in China's favor. Meanwhile, China has taken increasingly aggressive actions, which includes flying fighter jets near the island. Some analysts fear a Chinese attack on Taiwan has the potential to draw the United States into a war with China because the United States is selling weapons and military equipment to Taiwan, despite the fact that China's leader had asked the US multiple times to stop supplying them with military equipment. The craziest of all is that even though they're supplying them with weapons, Washington does not support Taiwanese independence. It looks like Nostradamus was once again right. China's President Xi Jinping is hoping to make the Chinese dream come true by 2049, which is an objective to make China a modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, civilized, and harmonious. However, in order to make this happen, Taiwan must unificate with China, which is just impossible to do without a conflict.
祖国统一是历史必然，两岸同胞要携手同心，共享民族复兴的伟大荣光。
And if this Nostradamus' prediction comes true, which I'm sure will, it'll lead us to another prediction Nostradamus made 500 years ago. Beginning of World War III. Nostradamus said that exactly 79 years after the Second World War ends, the Third World War will begin. With some quick math, we get that according to Nostradamus, World War III will begin this year. Even though it hasn't happened yet, there are multiple confirmations we can expect to see this prediction come true in 2024. With two major wars we've got ongoing at the moment and the third one knocking on the door, I think it's time we start preparing for the upcoming event. When the tensions between Russia and Ukraine escalated once again back in 2022, many global powers started to take sides and support them. This resulted in worldwide tensions between countries who had no other reason for tensions but taking different sides. But the worst thing is that those countries which already had some tension build-up going on now had an even bigger reason to cut ties. And even worse was that those countries were leading powers, such as the United States and China. Their relations were already tangled due to declined trade flow, Washington reducing the types of semiconductors that American companies could sell to China, as well as them limiting investments in advanced technology in China. But the moment the United States started sending a ton of heavy weapons to Ukraine, the relations between two countries couldn't get worse because, on the other hand, China was providing Russia with technology it needs for high-tech weapons. This further resulted in the United States sanctioning a Chinese firm for providing satellite imagery to Russian mercenary forces fighting in Ukraine. And when war between Palestine and Israel broke out, the overall situation in the world took a turn for worse and tightened the relationships between countries more than ever before. With a bunch of protests and wars going on in the world, we just need to add a tiny bit more fuel to the fire and get World War III going. Or in other words, we just need a conflict between China and Taiwan. On top of all that, America and Britain launched brutal missile strikes in January of 2024 on areas in the west of Yemen controlled by the Iranian-backed rebels. Considering all of this, we can be pretty sure we'll witness the beginning of World War III this year. Death of Pope Francis. For those who didn't know, Nostradamus was one who predicted the shocking death of Queen Elizabeth II that happened back in 2022, saying Queen Elizabeth will die, circa 22, at the age of around 96. Predicting someone's death this precisely is straight terrifying. But what if I told you that Nostradamus had predicted another death of a well-known person that's supposed to happen in 2024? Pope Francis could soon be replaced, according to Nostradamus's prediction. On one of his notes, he wrote down, "Through the death of a very old pontiff, a Roman of good age will be elected. Of him it will be said that he weakens his sight, but long will he sit and in biting activity." According to Nostradamus's book experts, this sentence means that Pope Francis might die in the year 2024. Pope Francis, who's turning 88 this year, has been having health issues, and last year he had to skip the UN climate conference because of lung inflammation and breathing problems. The Pope has been suffering on and off from what has been described as a cold bronchitis and influenza for more than a month, leading him to limit public speaking, cancel some meetings, and visit a hospital for medical checks. He also has restricted mobility due to a knee problem. But luckily, Pope Francis said he's feeling better at the moment, stating that the option of retiring is only a distant hypothesis. So we can't really know if this Nostradamus' prediction will turn out to be right until this year ends. We can only hope for the best. Climate disaster. With the climate crisis becoming more intense by the day, it is no secret that no good times are headed towards the world if nothing significant is done to change it. To fully understand the issue, governments around the world have agreed to hold dialogues twice a year, as well as ministerial roundtable with climate as the main and only topic once a year. Needless to say, the climate crisis has never been worse than in recent years, but the crisis we can expect to witness in 2024 is far worse, according to Nostradamus' prediction. The dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods when it is seen. A line in one of Nostradamus' notebooks stated, "So far in 2024, global climate trends are cause for both deep alarm and cautious optimism. Last year was the hottest on record by a huge margin, and this year will likely be hotter still. Even though the governments have agreed to work together and try their best to try and limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, because warming beyond this threshold poses enormous dangers for humanity. The agreement refers to long-term trends in temperature, not a single year. So if global warming goes over 1.5 degrees Celsius in 2024, it would not mean the world has failed to meet the Paris target. However, in order to make Nostradamus look stupid, almost 200 countries agreed to accelerate the transition away from fossil fuels in this crucial decade, since the burning of fossil fuels is the primary cause of the climate crisis. So if clean technologies continue growing at this pace, studies show there's a 70% chance of emissions falling from 2024, which is a good sign that this Nostradamus prediction is wrong. New king. For some reason, Nostradamus loved to make predictions about the King family. Just how he predicted the death of Queen Elizabeth II, he also predicted the arrival of a new king. King of the Isles, who has a controversial divorce, driven out by force, and who is replaced by one who will have no mark of a king, Nostradamus said. Experts who have studied his book believe that King of the Isles refers to King Charles, who will be replaced by his son Harry in 2024. But his son has no king characteristics, which may cause chaos in the United Kingdom. The main meaning of this prediction isn't that Harry will become a king, but that King Charles will die. In February of 2024, it was revealed that King Charles was diagnosed with the type of cancer. However, the type has not been revealed. It's not prostate cancer, but was discovered during his recent treatment for an enlarged prostate at a private hospital in London. The palace said that he chose to go public about his cancer treatment because he was a patron of multiple cancer-related charities in the past. So far, it seems like this Nostradamus' prediction might come true. But what's with the Harry part of the prediction? Back in January of 2020, Prince Harry, along with his wife Meghan, decided to step back as senior royals. This meant that they'll no longer get to live in Buckingham Palace and will be excluded from a royal family will. The couple got pregnant in 2020 and moved to California, stating they wanted space to raise their child. Since then, they have only visited the United Kingdom a few times, since they no longer have an official UK residence. In early 2023, they were asked to vacate a property called Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, which was a gift from Queen Elizabeth II. Even though they have been excluded from the will, the story about them having to work hard for their money is just a fluff. Apparently, upon stepping down as senior royals, King Charles gave them a substantial sum. And considering King Charles is a billionaire, I doubt the sum had less than 8 digits. As of today, they own a couple of businesses, and their total net worth is estimated to be around $60 million, while some sources say it may be up to $120 million. However, one is sure, Harry doesn't have a king character, especially if you were to compare him with his elder brother Prince William. On top of that, the only way Harry could become a king after his father's death is if William and 3 of his descendants died, because Harry is currently the 5th in line of succession. The only thing I know is that if this Nostradamus' prediction comes true, we should be terrified for all his future predictions, because for this one to come true, it would mean that 5 people need to die, including 3 children. Alien signal.
You had the spaceship and you had the bodies. They were all locked up in a bunker.
We already know that 2023 was a year full of UFO sightings all around the world. We never thought of those as real things, but you'll get terrified when I tell you that Nostradamus predicted we'll make contact with aliens in 2024. Actually, it was the living Nostradamus who predicted this, but hey, he's still Nostradamus. In the past, we've read stories about how living Nostradamus predicted that in 2024, Earth will be invaded by an advanced alien race. Apparently, it would take them just a couple of hours to take over our planet using super-intelligent technology. However, this was completely made up by an unknown Nostradamus fan. However, that doesn't mean living Nostradamus never put aliens, humans, and the year 2024 in the same sentence. Living Nostradamus stated that in the year 2024, we'll finally be able to make contact with aliens, but it won't be a terrifying invasion. He says, humans and aliens will develop communication through encrypted signals intercepted by a network of telescopes. The closest we got to this was the WOW, which was a strong narrowband radio signal that lasted 72 seconds and was detected on August 15, 1977. To this day, we still don't know who sent it, and if there's another universe with a Wikipedia page called the WOW, similar to ours. If this comes true and we make contact with aliens, it'll sure mess up with our mental health. Return of Donald Trump. A prediction that got a staggering amount of attention last year was the one suggesting the potential return of Donald Trump to the highest office in the United States in 2024. While Nostradamus' cryptic verses do not explicitly mention Trump, some experts suggest that it hints that he will be back. Nostradamus said, "When the white dragon returns, America will be in chaos again. He will divide the nation and will bring conflict and violence. The great power will be weakened and the world will be in danger. Only the brave and the wise will be able to stop the white dragon." He literally said that Trump's second term, if it actually happens, will bring a series of shocking events, scandals, and controversies. These events would later on divide the nation and tarnish Trump's name, along with the accusations of corruption, misconduct, and financial impropriety. New World Leader. With the war between China and Taiwan, Nostradamus had predicted, we already know which side is going to win. But not because it's pretty obvious, but because Nostradamus had also predicted that China is going to become a new world leader. And I mean, what kind of a world-leading country loses to a small island? China has rapidly expanded its economy and military strength over the past few decades, which will likely continue as the world is becoming more connected and globalized. Thanks to this, China's cultural influence is spreading rapidly, with the country already being the world's second largest economy. According to Nostradamus' prediction, China will continue to rise and eventually at one point overtake the United States as the dominant global power. However, this will lead to significant changes in the world order because China will be one setting the international trade diplomacy and security agenda. We don't know if this change will come peacefully or with even more tensions, but Nostradamus has stated that the empire of the great city will not want to consent to the crooked actions of the great leopard. His forces united by the East will cause him to confront a red adversary. According to some experts, they believe that the great city could reference, now this is open to interpretation, but some believe the great city could reference the United States and that the great leopard could represent China. When it comes to the question, will this happen peacefully? Well, I'm not really sure, considering that China has 2 million more personnel than the US military and the highest number of active duty combatants in the world, counting 2,185,000 members. On top of that, China is also predicted to quadruple its stockpile of nuclear warheads by 2035, and with taking all of this into consideration, China will likely want to use its power, especially because they've already exchanged a number of cruise missiles with the United States in past years. And if that's not enough to believe that this Nostradamus' prediction will come true, let me also tell you that China is becoming a surprisingly popular diplomatic partner. As a member of the BRICS group, China has committed itself to promoting economic equality and mutual benefit across the developing world, which has strengthened its relationships with multiple African and Latin American countries. In fact, of the dozens of multilateral development banks that are scattered throughout the globe, 4 of them are now headquartered in China, and they represent tempting alternatives to Western-dominated development institutions, and on top of that benefit from being backed by China's fast-growing and relatively stable economy. The only thing the United States is winning at the moment is GDP per capita, which is sitting at almost $70,000, whilst China's GDP per capita is about $12,500. It may be too early to make definitive projections of China's future, but with the look of the current situation and the fact that Nostradamus had predicted its climb to the top, we can be sure China will become a leading country in the world pretty soon. Sleep pandemic. The pandemic we experienced in 2020 is nothing compared to what's about to come. This next pandemic will be called sleep pandemic, and the main culprit will be a mysterious virus that will spread worldwide and cause an unseen pandemic. Mankind will start living a life in which sleeping is pretty much a taboo topic that everyone will want. However, the lack of sleep will create social chaos and conflicts. We'll have this huge urge to sleep, but won't be able to, and the worst of all, we won't have anything to do. That's because schools, stores, jobs, basically everything will get closed, leaving nothing for us to do but to spend time trying to fall asleep or use psychoactive substances to make your life happier. If you're thinking that this would be great because you'd be able to play your favorite game for a whole day without having to sleep, well, you're pretty wrong. Let me ask you this: who would maintain the servers of your favorite game? Not just that, but who would maintain the servers of your internet provider? You'd most likely have no internet connection, and even if their servers would work perfectly fine, I'm sure they wouldn't be able to work without electricity. The same goes for your food and other things you need for having a normal life in today's world. In other words, this virus would likely be the end of civilization because without truckers who'd transport medicine and medical workers who'd prescribe those, sick people and elders would start dying at a fast rate. Situation isn't any better for younger folks since the boredom would attract them to try something new which has its lethal dose. It wouldn't be like this at first, of course. In the beginning, it would feel like we're living 24/7 in a lucid dream. But slowly the curtains would start to fall and we'd realize we're stuck in our lucid dream. Now, this wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened to humankind. Encephalitis lethargica is the disease known as sleeping sickness. It was first described in 1917 by neurologist Constantin von Economo and pathologist Jean-René Cruchet. The disease attacks the brain, leaving some victims in a statue-like condition, speechless and motionless. Between 1915 and 1926, an epidemic of encephalitis lethargica spread around the world. The exact number of people infected is unknown, but it is estimated that more than 1 million people contracted the disease during the epidemic, which directly caused more than 500,000 deaths. On top of that, most of those who survived never returned to their normal lives. In today's world, where diseases spread quicker than ever due to more people in public spaces, this pandemic would mean only one thing: the end of civilization, or in the other words, end of the world. So let's hope Nostradamus was wrong this time. AI takes over. Last year, we witnessed an insane increase in popularity of artificial intelligence tools such as photo generators, ChatGPT, and more. However, according to Nostradamus' prediction for the year 2024, he stated that we'll get to witness a worldwide AI rebellion, which will create total chaos and maybe even start wars. Just imagine the world in which machines, electronic devices, and robots have turned against humans and have set them as their primary targets. Sometime into this rebellion, robots would start to challenge us and even attempt to claim their independence. From industries and economies to governments and everyday life, this rebellion would change the aspect of every detail in humans' life. We wouldn't be able to regain our authority and would become their servants. This topic has been around many news portals in the last couple of months, and many people agree that we should stop with making the AI so powerful before it's not too late. Not only did AI start to replace human jobs, but the cost of producing an AI robot or even just a program is too high and needs a lot of energy, which also brings some environmental concerns. In simple words, as AI is becoming more autonomous, chances of losing control over it become higher as well. While some people believe AI doesn't have consciousness, others are too scared to even open up ChatGPT. I once again hope that this Nostradamus prediction is wrong and that I won't have to fight an army of robots. There you have it. You just saw 10 terrifying Nostradamus predictions for 2024. Comment down below what's the worst thing you saw on the list, and don't forget to subscribe and click on the screen to watch the next video.